Welcome to the Last Economy podcast, a guide to the age of intelligent economics. Today, we are undertaking what might be the most crucial deep dive we've done yet. We're pulling apart Chapter 3. The book titles it, The 7 Fatal Lies of a Dying Paradigm.
It sounds dramatic, doesn't it? Fatal lies.
It really does.
Yeah.
But, once you actually get into the material, you realize it's less about the drama and more about, well, intellectual honesty, I suppose.
Exactly.
Our mission today, as the book kind of implies, feels like an autopsy.
An autopsy, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
We're not just analyzing the old economic foundations. We're systematically examining the precise points where those foundations have, frankly, decayed.
Crumbled, really, under the weight of what the book calls the intelligence inversion.
Right. And the chapter kicks off by framing our task perfectly. It uses that attributed Mark Twain quote.
Oh, the one about knowing things.
Yes.
Yeah.
It ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so.
That really nails it, because so much of what we think we know for sure about how economies work,
It's just not true anymore.
or maybe it never was quite true, but now it's actively harmful. It's the biggest obstacle we have to actually adapting to this huge shift that's happening.
So these aren't just like minor theoretical errors we're talking about.
Oh, not at all. No. These are what the book calls load-bearing lies. Think of them like the main pillars holding up an old building.
Okay.
They were the foundational ideas, often unspoken, these sort of fictions that coordinated how millions, billions of people behaved. They justified policies for, well, centuries in some cases.
Right.
But now, in this age of, infinite digital stuff, infinite intelligence almost, these lies have become the precise opposite of reality.
An opposite. Wow.
Literally.
Huh.
And clinging to them, which we're doing, that's what's fundamentally stopping society, stopping us from making that necessary leap.
Right.
We're trying to navigate this totally new landscape.
Using an old, wrong map.
Exactly. We're trying to fly a spaceship using instruments calibrated for, I don't know, a horse-drawn cart. It just won't work.
Okay, so before we even get to the lies themselves, we need to understand why we believe them so strongly. Where did this deep, almost, unquestioning belief come from?
Right. And the book gives us some really important context there. It traces our collective indoctrination, our training, back to something it calls the factory school.
The factory school. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is where we start to see the human side of this whole thing. It's easy to forget that the modern school system,
The one basically everyone listening went through, you and me included.
pretty much, yeah,
Yep.
centralized compulsory public education. It was largely imported, designed based on the 19th century Prussian model.
Okay, Prussia. And the purpose wasn't just pure enlightenment, learning for learning's sake.
Well, that's the story we tell ourselves, isn't it? But the book argues pretty convincingly, I think, that its primary design was something else entirely.
Which was?
Compliance and efficiency. It was engineered quite deliberately to produce a massive supply of predictable, obedient workers.
Like cogs in a machine.
Exactly. Interchangeable human cogs, as the book puts it, perfect for the emerging factories in the corporate state back then. It was necessary, you could argue, to organize society on that scale.
And when you think about what we actually learned there beyond the reading and writing, the hidden curriculum,
Ah, yes, the hidden curriculum. That's the key.
kind of chilling when you lay it out. What did we learn?
We learned to sit still for hours on end, follow bells dictating when to start, stop, eat, move.
Ask for permission for basic things like
Yeah.
speaking or even going to the bathroom.
Uh-huh. And crucially, we learned to accept that our entire complex worth as a human being could be boiled down to a single letter.
A grade.
Yeah.
A simple, comparable metric on a piece of paper.
Right. Perfect training for the industrial world, wasn't it? It taught punctuality, conformity, following orders without question, accepting hierarchy.
And it prepared us, didn't it, to just accept these economic lies we're about to talk about.
Absolutely, because those lies were, in a way, necessary back then. They helped coordinate all that mass behavior. They provided the moral justification for the often brutal reality of industrial work.
The system basically told you, look, your job might be repetitive, it might be soul-crushing, but it's necessary. Society needs it. And your value, your worth, comes directly from doing it.
Precisely. That was the social contract, however flawed it seems now. It kept the engine running.
But that world is gone.
it's gone, or at least it's rapidly vanishing. And the lies that maybe, lubricated the gears of that old system, now they're jamming the gears of the new one. They're seizing everything up, pushing us towards what the book calls the chasm.
So we have to do this demolition. This
Yeah.
is autopsy.
We have to. We can't build the economics for this new era of abundance until we really understand what's wrong with the old paradigm of scarcity, what's killing it.
Okay, let's start the demolition then. The book groups the first two lies together under a really powerful heading.
Which one is that?
The lies of annihilation.
Oof.
Hmm.
Yeah. Annihilation, that sets a tone.
It does. And these two feel like they strike right at the heart of classical economics.
They absolutely do. They challenge the fundamental axioms, the starting points that the entire field is built on.
Okay, lie number one, scarcity is fundamental.
The grand myth. Seriously, pick up any intro econ textbook, I dare you.
Uh-huh, okay.
The first sentence, or definitely the first paragraph, will define economics as the study of how societies allocate scarce resources.
Right, that's the whole point, isn't it? Stuff is limited.
That's the core assumption. Time, materials, money, labor, it's all inherently limited. And because it's limited, we need this whole field of study economics to figure out the best way to divvy it up.
Seems logical enough on the surface, but how does that clash with the new reality?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting, and it brings us to the first really impactful quote the book highlights.
Okay, let me read it. What is the price of an infinitely replicable idea?
Boom! Right, that question is like dropping a lit match into the powder keg of traditional economics.
Well, so.
Think about it. If the entire reason your field exists is scarcity, and the most important resource now, the thing we care about most in this new economy, intelligence, cognitive power ideas, suddenly becomes infinitely replicable.
Because digital information can be copied for free.
Exactly. What happens to your field? The book argues, and I think it's right, that traditional economics starts to approach meaninglessness in that domain. Its core problem dissolves.
And this isn't just some abstract philosophical point. The book gives actual numbers to show this shift, this phase transition, as it calls it.
Yeah, this is probably the single most staggering piece of data in the whole chapter. It really defines this intelligence inversion. Okay, so picture this. The year is 2020, not that long ago.
Right.
If you wanted to hire a professional human mind, think a consultant, a researcher, maybe a junior lawyer drafting a document, a knowledge worker,
Okay.
you were paying on average around $36 per hour. That's factoring in salary, benefits, office space, all the overhead.
$36 an hour. That was the market price for high-end human thinking, basically, for its scarcity.
That's our benchmark. Now contrast that with the cost of getting superior cognitive work done by a top-tier large language model today.
Like the AI systems we hear about constantly.
Exactly. The cost, using their APIs for generating the same kind of output, a complex analysis, deep research, sophisticated code, is now as low as, get this, 0.00996 cents per query.
Wait, 0.00996 cents.
Cents per query, not per hour.
So we went from $36 an hour
Yeah.
to practically free per task.
You got it. Do the math. That's a 99.99% cost reduction. More, probably, depending on the task.
99.99%.
It's the annihilation of an entire economic category. We didn't just make thinking cheaper. We effectively eliminated the scarcity of that cognitive output.
Wow.
And our economic system, which is built entirely around managing scarcity and friction, it just can't process this. It has no framework for sudden, radical abundance.
So when supply goes infinite, price goes to zero.
And the system screams catastrophe, market failure, depression, even though what actually happened is this unbelievable leap in human capability. Abundance looks like collapse to our old instruments.
The speed of that, it's mind-bending, and it leads straight into the next lie, doesn't it? The second lie of annihilation, which feels even more challenging, maybe morally.
It is. Lie number 2. Human labor has value.
This is huge. It's like the bedrock of Western identity, isn't it? The whole Protestant work ethic idea.
Absolutely. The moral foundation of the industrial age was essentially work equals worth. Dignity comes from work. It holds society together.
We were trained by the factory school. Your job gives your life meaning.
It wasn't just an economic idea. It was practically a religious one. Your contribution through labor defined your place.
And the intelligence inversion, this machine intelligence, has a pretty brutal answer to that belief. Here's the next quote from the book. What is the salary for a skill that a machine can perform for free?
Yeah, that cuts deep, doesn't it? See, with previous waves of automation, there's always somewhere else for humans to go.
Right. Machines replaced muscle power in the fields or factories.
And we pivoted. We said, okay, we'll use our minds. We'll do knowledge work. That was the escape hatch.
Now,
Now AI is automating the mind itself. At least the cognitive tasks, the routine intellectual labor, what the book calls non-metabolic intelligence.
non-metabolic, meaning
Meaning intelligence that doesn't need food or sleep or healthcare or salary. It doesn't get tired or bored. It runs on electricity.
so if the machine can do my thinking job for virtually free,
Then the economic value, the market value of you doing that same job collapses towards zero.
okay, but the book makes an even stronger claim here, and I need to push on this a bit.
Mm.
It says, for many cognitive tasks, the economic value of a human isn't just lower than AI, it's actually negative.
Mm.
That sounds incredibly harsh, almost
Mm.
cruel. Is that really fair or necessary to say?
It is brutal, but it reflects the cold, unsentimental logic of the market when focused purely on operational efficiency. And markets make these calculations instantly, even if we don't like acknowledging it.
So negative value isn't a moral judgment, it's an operational one.
Exactly. Think beyond that $36 hourly rate we talked about. What else does a human knowledge worker cost a company?
Well, there's training, onboarding, office space, IT support.
Right. Plus, healthcare, paid time off, sick days, parental leave. Humans get sick, they have good days and bad days.
They have moods, they disagree, they might quit unexpectedly.
All of which creates friction, risk, and cost for the organization. Huge costs, often hitting in replacement and retraining. Now compare that to the AI.
API fees and electricity.
That's basically it. It works 24/7, 365. Consistency is perfect. Quality might even improve over time. It never asks for a raise, never gets sick, never joins a union.
Okay, I see the operational math now. When you factor in all that human friction and risk.
The human alternative starts to look like it actively subtracts value from a purely efficiency-driven perspective compared to the AI doing the same task, hence negative economic value in that specific context.
That's a really stark calculation.
Yeah.
So when our leaders, our policymakers, keep clinging to this idea that human labor must have value and focus all their energy on job creation,
They're fighting a losing battle. They're essentially trying to legislate against gravity or against the tide coming in.
the book calls job creation initiatives like building lifeboats during a flood that's covering the whole world.
It's a good analogy. We're obsessed with preserving the old mechanism for distributing resources and status, the job, instead of figuring out new mechanisms for meaning, purpose, and distribution in a world where machines do the jobs.
Because if we keep insisting that everyone needs a job to have worth,
We condemn ourselves to this constant losing struggle against the zero marginal cost of AI. We can't decouple human value from paid economic production.
so the focus needs to shift away from jobs.
Entirely. Towards purpose creation, as the book suggests, how do we build a society where people have meaning and security, even if the market doesn't need their labor in the traditional sense? That's the real question.
That's a huge shift in thinking. And it leads us nicely into the next set of lies. If labor isn't the core driver anymore, what is? This brings us to lies 3 and 4, which the book calls the lies of physics.
Yeah, these tackle our very old ideas about growth itself and how we think the physical world limits the economy.
Okay, lie number 3. Growth requires resources.
This is classic Econ 101 again, right? Industrial era thinking. There's this formula.
Output equals some function of capital, labor, and resources.
Exactly. Output, FKLR. To grow the economy, to increase GDP, you basically have to consume more physical stuff. More coal, more oil, more timber, more minerals.
Making more physical things required digging up more of the planet. Growth meant more consumption.
And for a couple of centuries, that was largely true. If you wanted more steel, you needed more iron ore and more coal. Simple.
But the intelligence inversion breaks this link.
Shatters it. Through this powerful process the book calls decoupling.
Decoupling, how does that work?
Well, intelligence itself, especially AI-driven intelligence, is fundamentally separate from material consumption. Think about it. Once you've trained a big AI model, which takes energy, yes, that trained model can then serve 1 million users or 1 billion users.
Without using up any more physical resources per user.
Precisely. It can generate infinite unique outputs, lines of code, personalized lesson plans, diagnostic suggestions, and it actually gets better with more use through data. and it can be copied and distributed globally for virtually zero marginal cost.
So the source of new economic value isn't about digging up more atoms from the ground.
It's about arranging the bits, the information, the knowledge we already have in smarter ways.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine an AI designs a new chemical process that produces fertilizer using 50% less energy and avoids using a rare catalyst.
Okay.
The resulting economic growth, cheaper fertilizer, maybe higher crop yields, came from the intelligence, the arrangement of bits that define the new process. It didn't come from consuming more atoms. It might have even led to less consumption.
That's a fundamental shift. Growth driven by intelligence, not just materials.
It's a massive new engine for growth that doesn't automatically mean liquidating the planet.
Which makes the fatal flaw of clinging to lie number 3 pretty terrifying.
It really is. If you believe growth must equal resource consumption, then you systematically destroy natural capital forests, fisheries, clean air, and you call it economic growth on your GDP dashboard.
We're literally celebrating the destruction of our life support system because our economic model is blind.
Blind to the value being created in the digital realm and obsessed only with physical throughput. Our map isn't just wrong, it's actively guiding us off a cliff.
And that blindness, that inability to see the new reality, carries right over into the next lie. Lie number 4. Markets find equilibrium.
Yes. Adam Smith's invisible hand, the comforting idea.
The belief that if you just leave markets alone, competition will sort everything out.
Exactly. Competition is supposed to drive down prices, erode super high profits, and guide the market to this stable, happy place where supply perfectly meets demand at the right price.
It's like a pendulum, right? Swings too far one way, but gravity pulls it back to the center, self-correcting.
That's the image. And it kind of worked, more or less, in a world of physical goods with lots of friction. If you opened a ridiculously profitable bakery,
Someone else would open one across the street, undercut your prices.
and eventually, profits would settle at a normal level, equilibrium. But the physics are totally different in the digital world.
Because digital markets aren't self-correcting.
They're the opposite. The book says they are self-amplifying.
Self-amplifying. How?
Through network effects. This is crucial. A network effect means a product or service becomes more valuable the more people use it.
Like social media or search engines.
Perfect examples. The first person on Facebook, not very useful. The billionth person, incredibly useful because everyone else is there. This dynamic doesn't lead to equilibrium, it leads to monopolies. The book says network effects create monopolies as naturally as gravity creates black holes.
Wow. Strong analogy. And the data backs this up, right?
Completely. Look at the market share numbers the book mentions. Google has something like 92% of global search. Meta, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, dominate social media, maybe 80% or more of interaction time.
These aren't just companies with a temporary lead.
No way. These are stable, persistent, gravity-well monopolies. It's incredibly hard for a competitor to get traction because they don't have the network.
And AI just pours gasoline on this fire.
Absolutely, because AI thrives on data. The platform with the most users gets the most data.
Which lets them train the best AI.
Which attracts even more users, giving them even more data. It's a runaway feedback loop. There's no pendulum swing back to equilibrium here.
It's just acceleration towards dominance. One platform controlling the whole utility.
Pretty much. So the fatal flaw of believing in equilibrium, it makes us incredibly passive when it comes to policy.
We just sit back and wait for the market to self-correct.
Unaware that we're not on a pendulum. We're strapped to a rocket ship that only knows acceleration.
And we try to apply laws designed for, what, 19th century railroads?
Yeah, antitrust laws designed for physical, slow-moving monopolies with geographic limits. We try to apply those to global, instant, data-driven monopolies.
And we wonder why it doesn't work. The tools are totally mismatched to the physics of the market now.
Exactly. Dangerously passive policy based on a fundamentally wrong understanding of how these new markets behave.
Okay, this is heavy stuff. Let's move to the final cluster of lies. Lies 5, 6, and 7. The book groups these as the lies of morality and measurement.
Right. These are about how we define a value, how we measure success, and the underlying morality of the system.
And lie number 5 is maybe the one causing the most confusion day to day. Money measures value.
GDP,
Yeah.
the holy grail metric.
The idea that gross domestic product, just adding up all the money changing hands, tells us how well society is doing.
If the number goes up, things are good. If it goes down, things are bad. Money is the universal yardstick. Simple.
Except, it's not that simple, is it? The fatal flaw here is that the system is blind to anything that doesn't have a price tag.
It can't see abundance. It can't measure value that isn't monetized.
And the book has another killer quote here. I think this one might be the most profound. Really makes you stop and think. If the best things in life are free, why is our economy designed to measure only the things that cost money?
That question just exposes the whole absurdity, doesn't it? It reveals this central, almost perverse flaw in our measurement.
How so?
Because GDP only measures flow money moving around, it actually registers liberation from scarcity as economic collapse.
Okay, you need to unpack that. How does getting something valuable for free look like collapse?
The book uses the classic Wikipedia versus Encyclopedia Britannica example. It's perfect.
Right, I remember saving up for those Britannica sets.
Exactly. And they were expensive. A full set might cost $1,500 back in the day.
And that $1,500 sale counted towards GDP.
It absolutely did. Now, along comes Wikipedia, 20 billion page views a month, an incredible resource of free, accessible knowledge for the entire planet. Immense public value, right?
Undeniably, it's changed how we learn everything.
But what was Wikipedia's contribution to GDP?
Zero, because it's free.
Worse than zero. It was negative.
Negative.
Because
Right.
it completely destroyed the highly profitable multi-billion-dollar encyclopedia industry. Britannica, World Book, and Carta, all gone, or shadows of their former selves.
So GDP recorded the loss of that $1,500 per set industry.
But it completely failed to record the gain from billions of people getting vastly more information for free. It saw the destruction of a profit stream, but was blind to the creation of immense public wealth.
So our main economic dashboard is, as the book says, perfectly backwards.
It really is. When AI starts making valuable services, tutoring, medical advice, legal help drastically cheaper, maybe even free.
Our GDP number might actually go down.
Exactly. The instrument will scream, recession, depression. Policymakers will panic.
And they'll try to fix it by, what? Making things expensive again, creating artificial scarcity.
That's the danger. The fatal flaw is that this lie forces us to actively resist the very abundance that technological progress delivers. We achieve the dream-free access to knowledge and cognitive power, and our instruments tell us we're failing. We're measuring the wrong thing.
Measuring destruction as production, almost. Wow. Okay, that confusion really sets up the next lie. Lie number 6. Rational agents optimize.
Homo economicus, the mythical creature at the heart of microeconomics.
The idea that we, as humans, are all perfectly rational calculators.
Yep. We weigh the pros and cons, analyze the data, and make cool, calculated decisions to maximize our own happiness and well-being. Consumer choice theory, market efficiency, it all rests on this idea.
But do we really act like that? Especially now.
Not even close. The book argues the rational actor isn't just a myth anymore. It's become a target, a victim.
How so?
The reality check is we're not rational calculators operating in some neutral environment. We're biological creatures.
Driven by emotions, biases.
Exactly. Loss aversion, confirmation bias, herd mentality, craving for immediate gratification, all these predictable cognitive biases. And we now live inside an information environment that has been meticulously engineered to exploit those biases for profit.
You mean like social media platforms, streaming services?
Absolutely. Think about it. Variable ratio reinforcement schedules, infinite scroll, personalized recommendations designed to trigger dopamine hits. The book calls them addiction machines. They're designed to keep us hooked, scrolling, clicking, consuming, often past the point of our own rational self-interest.
So we're not optimizing the system for our benefit.
The system is optimizing us, tuning us to be predictable, easily influenced, monetizable consumers.
And AI takes this to a whole new level.
To the absolute extreme, because AI can learn you. It can build a model of your individual psychology, your fears, your desires, your trigger points, your biases better than you understand them yourself.
Unsteadily.
It completely shatters any notion of consumer sovereignty. If an AI can predict what you'll want, craft personalized messages, and nudge your behavior with superhuman effectiveness, how can we say market outcomes truly reflect independent human preferences?
They don't. Those preferences are being actively manufactured and manipulated, often by algorithms whose only goal is to extract money or attention.
Precisely. This creates a huge instability. Our political and economic systems assume some kind of wisdom of the crowd or rational choice. But what happens when the crowd's choices are being steered by hidden, non-human intelligences acting against our long-term well-being?
The rational actor isn't just dead. Maybe it never really existed, and now it's being actively preyed upon.
That's the disturbing reality. Which brings us finally to the last lie, and this one feels the most morally loaded.
Lie number 7. Distribution follows contribution.
This is the bedrock justification for capitalism as we know it, isn't it? The core moral argument.
The idea that rewards flow to those who create the most value. If you work hard, innovate, take risks, you deserve the rewards.
Exactly. It's why we accept, or at least tolerate, huge inequalities. The story is that the CEO earning 350 times the average worker must be creating 350 times the value. Success is earned, poverty is, well, implicitly deserved.
It underpins our sense of fairness. But the data tells a very different story, doesn't it?
A starkly different story. The book points out that this supposed link between how much value someone creates their productivity and how much they get paid was decisively broken decades ago.
To give specific numbers, right?
Yeah. Between roughly 1973 and 2020, in the U.S., worker productivity, the amount of value created per hour worked went up by about 62%, a huge increase.
Okay, so wages should have gone up by roughly 62% too if the lie was true.
You'd think so. But median wages over that same period, they only went up by about 15.9%.
Wow. So where did all that extra value go?
The book is blunt. Distribution follows ownership, not contribution, not effort, not productivity.
Ownership of what?
Ownership of capital, shares, assets, companies. The gains flowed primarily to the owners of capital, not the providers of labor. This happened due to globalization, automation, declining worker power, policy choices, lots of factors.
And the AI economy is just the final nail in the coffin for this idea.
It's the final act, the ultimate decoupling. Think about it. When the machine, the AI, the non-metabolic intelligence, is doing almost all the complex, valuable cognitive work, what does earning even mean anymore?
It doesn't mean working harder, clearly.
It means owning a piece of the machine, owning shares in the company that owns the AI that's generating all the wealth. Your personal effort, your contribution becomes almost irrelevant to the massive productive output of the system.
So we're creating this unbelievable amount of machine-generated wealth.
Unprecedented wealth. But the rules of the game, the protocols of ownership, ensure that wealth flows automatically, almost exclusively to those who already own the assets.
Which makes the fatal flaw of clinging to lie number 7.
It traps us in these endless, ultimately pointless debates about skills gaps and retraining.
We keep telling people, you just need to learn new skills, adapt, keep up with the machine.
Exactly. We put all the burden on the individual worker, insisting they need to race against the AI while ignoring the fundamental distribution problem.
When the real challenge isn't about skilling people up to compete with free, perfect machine labor.
It's about how we share the abundance the machines are creating. We've basically solved the production problem. AI can generate immense value. But because we're stuck on this outdated moral lie that rewards must strictly follow individual human contribution,
We end up with this bizarre, obscene situation where unprecedented abundance exists right alongside deep, structural poverty and insecurity.
it's like we're arguing about how to teach people to fish better with handmade nets while ignoring the giant automated fishing trawlers emptying the ocean, owned by just a few entities, with no plan for sharing the catch.
That really does bring all 7 lies together, doesn't it? It shows how this entire worldview, built for a world of scarce atoms and necessary human labor,
Is just fundamentally incapable of dealing with a world of abundant bits and increasingly capable non-metabolic intelligence. These lies aren't just minor errors, they're the blinders preventing us from seeing the path forward.
they're the intellectual scaffolding, as you said, that has to come down. Okay, let's try and wrap this up for you, the listener. We've covered a lot of ground, tearing down these foundational myths. Let's synthesize the main point. If we had to boil down the core argument of Chapter 3 into one powerful sentence, the book essentially argues this. The 7 fatal lies of the dying economic paradigm are symptoms of a worldview built for scarce atoms and human labor, completely blind to a world of abundant bits and non-metabolic intelligence.
That captures it perfectly. And based on our discussion, here are the key takeaways, the things you really need to remember as you watch events unfold. First, scarcity annihilated. Remember that 99.99% number. The very basis of economics, scarcity, has been effectively destroyed when it comes to intelligence and information. Cost is collapsing.
Okay.
Second, labor value collapse. The market value of human work, especially cognitive work, is heading towards zero or even negative from a pure efficiency standpoint. The old work equals worth idea is economically obsolete.
Right.
Third, backwards measurement. Our main tool, GDP, is broken. It measures abundance and free value creation, like Wikipedia, as economic loss. It's perfectly backwards for this new era.
Crucial point.
Fourth, no equilibrium. Forget the gentle pendulum. Digital markets, thanks to network effects and AI, are self-amplifying monopoly machines. They don't self-correct, they accelerate towards concentration. And finally, fifth, ownership drives distribution. The game is no longer primarily about contribution. It's about ownership. Machine-generated wealth will concentrate massively based on who owns the AI and the platforms. The central challenge isn't making more stuff, it's figuring out how to share it.
That's a powerful summary of the demolition work. So we've torn down the old dashboard. We've shown it's not just inaccurate, it's actively misleading us, driving us towards bad decisions.
The demolition is complete. We see the flaws.
But we still need instruments, right? We can't fly blind. We need some way to navigate, to understand if we're heading in the right direction as a society.
Absolutely. Smashing the old dashboard isn't enough. We need a new one.
So if GDP, our current main dial, is truly the dashboard for insanity, as the next chapter title suggests, what does a sane dashboard look like? What should we be measuring in an age of intelligent economics?
That's the critical next step, moving from demolition to construction.
Exactly. So next time, we're going to dive deep into Chapter 4. We'll really unpack why GDP is so flawed for today's world, why it's truly that dashboard for insanity. And then we'll start the exciting, challenging work of exploring what new metrics, what new instruments we need to build to navigate the age of abundance successfully.
It's time to start designing the tools for the future.
It is indeed. Make sure you join us for that.